shed out there in the deity shed. They have batteries out there in one of those cabinets. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha. Jana Balaba Girivan at Hari Gopi Janavalabha Girivan at Hari Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Nandana Brajagana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivadet Hari Janavalabha Girivadet Hari Gopi Janavalabha Girivadet Hari Girivalabha Girivadet Hari Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Nana Brajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Nana Brajagana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Pakavacharya Satarya Satashishi Maha's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Gaura Vaishnavinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Sakoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki, ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada Ki, Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath, Shamakun, Radhakun, Giri Govardhan Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mayapur Dham Ki, Navadvip Dham Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Bhakta Devi Ki, Shishi Radha Golokananda Ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Gora Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Runga and Gopa. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 42, Text 15. Tata Puran Prichamano. Tata Puran Prichamano. Danusahi Stanam Achuta. Danusa Stanam Achuta. Tasmin Pravishto Dadrishe. Tasmin Pravishto Dadrishe. Danur Aindram Iva Bhutam. Danur Aindram Iva Bhutam. Tata Puran Prichamano. Danusastanam Achyuta. Tasmin Pravishto Dadrishe. Danur Arindram Ivan Bhutam Tata Puran Prichamano Danusam Stanam Achuta Tasmin Pravishto Dadrishe Danur Arindram Ivad Bhutam Tata Puran Prichamano Danusha Stanam Achuta Tasmin Pravishto Dadrishe Danur Arindram Iva Bhutam. Okay. Tatapuram Prachanmano Danusam Stanam Achutaya Tasmin Pravishto Dadrishe Danur Arindram Iva Bhutam. Tata Puran Prachamano Danushranam Achutara Tasmin Pravishto Dadrishe Danur Arindram Iva Bhutam. Tata. Then Puran from the city residents Pricham Mana inquiring about Danusa of the bow, Stanam, the place, Achuta, the infallible Supreme Lord, Tasmin, there, Pravishta, entering, Dadrishe, he saw, Danuhi, the bow, Indram, that of Lord Indra, Eva, like, Abhutam, amazing. Translation. Lord Krishna then asked the local people where the arena was and in which the bow sacrifice would take place. When he went there, he saw the amazing bow, which resembled Lord Indra's. So please read. Lord Krishna then asked the local people where the arena was in which the bow sacrifice would take place. When he went there, he saw the amazing bow, which resembled Lord Indra's. Okay, so Om Vyanda Tamarandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Om Litam Ninatai my Sri Gurave Namaha. We don't have any commentaries for a number of these verses, and the acharyas don't have, where they do have something to say, I'll read those. I'm going to finish this dialogue, which takes us to the end of this day of Krishna, and then he takes rest. He goes back with the cowherd boys. And I think there's one commentary that we can read there. So Jiva Goswami says in this regard, he says, after showing the mercy of the devotees, completely fixed in knowledge and power, Achyuta, he asked about the place of the bow being carried away by amusing pastimes. It was like Indra's bow, rainbow, because it was colorful with embedded gems and huge. So we get a little bit more of a description to help us try to visualize what this bow says. He says that from the Harivamsa, Harivamsa's Purana is another book of histories about there's about Krishna's pastimes. So it's kind of like Srimad Bhagavatam. There's all these different there's the volumes of it, and they talk about all Krishna's pastimes, in Vrindavan and outside of Vrindavan. They're not the same, and so there's stories in there that didn't make the cut into what we read now. There's actually Krishna's got so many pastimes, and Sukadeva Goswami only had 7 days to speak it, even though he spoke 24/7. So he got in as much as he could during that time. So it says, according to Harivamsa, which is additional to this, the guard showed the two boys the bow, which was like a pillar, which could not be strung or broken by the Devatas. So we have other pastimes where this is, imagine the size of this bow, just to bend it was what would be considered practically impossible. So text 16. That most opulent bow was guarded by a large company of men who were respectfully worshiping it. Krishna pushed his way forward, and despite the guard's attempts to stop him, picked it up. I forgot how many a company of men is. That's roughly a company. You have around 50, 60 men in one considered a company, about 8, 10 in a platoon. And you have like 4 or 5 platoons in a company. 17. Easily lifting the bow with his left hand, Lord Urukrama strung it in a fraction of a second. As the king's guard looked on, he then powerfully pulled the string and snapped the bow in half, just as an excited elephant might break a stalk of sugar cane. So here's Vishwanath makes a brief comment. In front of the onlookers, Krishna broke the bow, as if calling out to them, "O people, your king was worshiping this famous bow, but just by the touch of my hand, it has broken, as if eaten away by termites." So Sanat Goswami has a couple of things to say here. He took the bow carelessly or without effort in his left hand. The word cha means that without attention, he strung and broke the bow. So it was like second-handedly. It was so simple to him, he didn't have to pay attention to what he was doing. It was that nobody could even pick the bow up and string it. And he just did it effortlessly without even paying attention to what he did. He was able to make this. In a moment, he grabbed the bow, strung it, and broke it, while the angry guards and others, such as the wrestlers or people in general, watched, since it was impossible for them to do. The genitive case is used to show disrespect to them, or they watched in amazement, or they watched with unblinking eyes. Ami mesena. The phrase can also be used to read ani mesena prashyatam. While the guards watched with unblinking eyes, he broke the bow completely in two, pradvad bunja, because he had great power, urukram. Bending the jeweled bow completely, Krishna broke it in 2 pieces and used it as an ornament. Harivamsa. Yoga, Bhusitam, means decorated with jewels or a string or worthy of being used by Kamsa. He broke it like a mad elephant breaks sugar cane. He mentioned that it used it as an ornament. In the sense we're going to read where we used it as a weapon, him and Balaram. 18. The sound of the bows breaking filled the earth and sky in all directions. Upon hearing it, Kamsa was struck with terror. Jiva Goswami here elaborates a little bit more. One should not think that the bow was soft. It was harder than a thunderbolt. First, the sound filled Antariksa, traveling through the Ankasa. Then the sound spread to Svarga and earth, Rodasi. Since it spread up and down because of its greatness, then it spread in all directions and filled all planets. Though Kamsa instilled fear in the whole world, he became completely Agmat, terrified of this sound. He considered that this sound indicated the cruelest destruction, and thus thought he would immediately die. Number 19. The enraged guards then took up their weapons and, wanting to seize Krishna and his companions, surrounding them and shouted, "Grab him! Kill him!" Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Wanting to catch Krishna and his friends, they surrounded him, saying, "Kill him, kill him." However, the same words can also mean men like us should be killed. So it's like the reverse. So if you don't pronounce it correctly, like the vowels and the consonants, if they're not uttered properly, it has a reverse meaning. We see that there's instances throughout, and even in Srimad Bhagavatam, where this can have adverse effects, especially if you're performing some type of yagna, right, some type of sacrifice, and the Brahmins are all chanting, and the purpose, sankalpa means one's intention. What's the purpose of performing the sacrifice? What's the result that you want to get? There's some intended result. Every time you do a sacrifice, sometimes it's just going to be a mere initiation, and we do initiations here, and they're all different, the ceremony. They're not all really consistent from one. I mean, Prabhupada wasn't that particular on how the fire sacrifice went. And devotees typically now get more and more into it, and these days when they perform sacrifices, sometimes it took weeks, months, and years. They waited for a particular time to Ashwamedha sacrifice or some huge sacrifice. They knew at a particular time of the year was the best time to do that. And leading up to that, there was all these different sacrifices that they had to do and prep for that. Even the bathing of the Brahmins, all the different things, the mantras that were chanted at different times. And if you made one mistake, any one of those along the process, then it would spoil the result. So that's why these aren't done in this age. Sacrifices were done a huge long time ago. This is Kali Yuga, it's chanting the Lord's name. The previous age, or part of Yuga, was deity worship. And the age before that, Treta Yuga, was sacrifice. So sacrifices was the means of devotional service. And then Satya Yuga, it was meditation. So, but these actually are going on all the time, not just because on Earth they're not happening, but they're happening up in the upper planetary systems. There are planets like Mahaloka where sacrifice goes on all the time. These types of sacrifices happening even right now. And even in Tapaloka, there's meditation going on. And they're on the same time zone as Brahmaloka, Satyaloka. They mentioned that this sound was heard all the way to Satyaloka. So they're in the same time zone in the sense that their same day is the same as Brahma's day. Whereas one of Brahma's days here is like 4,320,000 years. I think that's the right amount of Earth years. So it's calculated a little differently. Okay, so here we have. Continue reading. The guards are, they pushed their way through, just very quickly. It was no problem from them to get to this company of men. They just, they're probably shocked and then there was some amazement because Krishna is actually Krishna. Krishna means all attractive, and then you got Balaram. They're powerful and beautiful. So different people were seeing Krishna differently. It's not everybody that saw Krishna would immediately fall in love with him, as we've learned in this chapter, because different people reacted differently when they saw Krishna. Some saw him as death personified, and some saw him as Cupid. So, and this will be also more elaborate as we continue with this these things will be brought out even more, how people reproach Krishna and see Krishna. And we have no, in this life we think, okay, we can, if we saw Krishna, because we're right frame of mind. But our next life, like the washerman, he, for millions of lifetimes, Lord Chaitanya said that he wanted to have my darshan. And then when he got it, he didn't even recognize me. He didn't respect me. He didn't understand. So we hope that we don't fall in that same category, even though we worship the Lord every life after life. And oftentimes, Mayavadis worship the Lord, but we have to understand it through a personal aspect and really get in touch with Krishna on a personal level. And so this is helping us. Srimad Bhagavatam is how we do that, because it's all about, it's the loving story of the Lord. Okay, let's see. Sanatana Goswami, the guardians of the bow, desired to kill Krishna along with Balaram and the boys, or they took up their weapons against him. The hidden meaning, however, is, here's Sanatana Goswami is bringing out something else. Persons like us should be seized and imprisoned. They are disrespectful statements because of great pride. So here again, there's another hidden meaning, because if things aren't pronounced correctly, or the reality of the situation is that they're pointing out, that you're the ones that's going to get annihilated. They're not going to kill Krishna and Balaram. They think they're protecting something. They can't even protect their own lives, much less protect this bow. And that has already been proven. They can't protect the bow. So seeing the guards coming upon them with evil intent, Balaram and Keshava took up the two halves of the bow and began to strike them down. After also killing the contingent of soldiers sent by Kamsa, Krishna and Balaram left the sacrificial arena by its main gate and continued their walk about the city, happily looking at the opulent sights. So they're going to come back the next day to the same place. They're going to have the deal with the elephant, deal with the wrestlers, and then ultimately kill Kamsa. This is the day before that. So Jiva Goswami says that the killed soldiers, Balaam, sent by Kamsa, or defeated the ability, Balaam, of Kamsa. They left from the gate of the arena, and seeing the wealth of the city, became joyful, and again wandered about casually in the city again. 22. Having witnessed the amazing deed Krishna and Balaram had performed, and seeing their strength, boldness, and beauty, the people of the city thought they must be two prominent demigods. So we're going to read Sanatana Goswami again. The righteous people became joyful on seeing Krishna and Balaram defeat the wicked. They saw their astonishing courage. They killed the guards and the bow easily, and broke, is not misspelled there, and broke the bow easily. They also saw their power and confidence. By this, the people's minds became attracted to them. Everyone present was affected by the strength or all powers, tejas, and confidence. Boldly they walked about, or without regard for others, or they had effulgence which defeated the world, and fearlessness, independence, or veracity. They had beauty, rupam, or they had power to give mercy to everyone, tejas, and boldness. His actions, qualities, and beauty have been shown. The people, another misspelled, the people thought they were Shiva and Vishnu. 23. As they strolled about at will, the sun began to set, so they left the city with the cowherd boys and returned to the cowherd's wagon encampment. And we're going to read one more. We still haven't come to a commentary. Okay, number 24. At the time of Krishna's departure from Vrindavan, the gopis had foretold that the residents of Mathura would enjoy many benedictions, and now the gopis' predictions were coming true. For those residents were gazing upon the beauty of Krishna and the jewel among men. Indeed, the goddess of fortune desired the shelter of that beauty so much that she abandoned many other men, although they worshipped her. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. When Krishna had left Raja for Mathura, the women of Raja predicted it will be an auspicious moment for the women of Mathura and a morning filled with sorrow for us. The blessings of their priest have become successful, and the blessing of ours have failed. When Krishna entered the city, they will taste with their glances the sweetness of his moon-like face, his sweet smiles. So we see how example there in this first paragraph where each group is praying. Will Krishna come be with me? Will Krishna come and be with me? Of course, Krishna can expand himself, but in this particular case, they talk, he's exhibiting different moods from each group. And it's like, people pray to God, the farmers pray, let it rain. We need our crops. But the construction workers are thinking, no, pray to God, don't rain so we can work, right? It's like in World War II, and all wars like this. So the mothers are praying, God, please bring my son home, right? So both sides are praying like this to God. So when their children get killed, then there's like, okay, their faith in God, which side, or, let us win. Each side's praying. But which side does God pick? But the reality, he's not really picking any side, because this is a manifestation of their desires, their works. So they're getting the results. Everybody's getting the results of their own karma. It's not like Krishna's decided which side. He's bestowing mercy to everybody equally, the demons and the devotees. He reciprocates, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, on how one approaches me. I reciprocate accordingly. However you approach me, that's how I reciprocate. If you want to approach me like Kamsa, and if you want to, or Hiranyakashipu, thinking you can defeat God, you're more powerful than God, you don't need God. So when God's not in your life, you can't blame him. Those who pray to God for strength, those who pray to God to help them in their lives, right? So the 4 types of people surrender, 4 types of people don't. It says in the Bhagavad Gita. So he says the 4 types that surrender or approach the Lord is those who are in distress. That's the number one. If people are in a foxhole, we're talking about if you're in fear of dying, in a precarious situation, a lot of people will turn to God. Please help me get out of this situation. That's the number one, whatever miserable condition they are, people turn to God to try to help, which is fine. At least their recognition is helping them. And also they want money. That's another big one too. Please help me in my business, help me in my endeavors so that I can be profitable, successful. So they pray to God, they acknowledge God in those conditions. And then those who are inquisitive want to understand a little bit about God. And then the topmost is those who are searching for the absolute truth, the real deep understanding that like we're getting here. So it's broken down in that way. And so those 4 people they actually recognize God. But they all approach God a little bit differently, and he reciprocates according to their desires. Based on what austerity they perform to achieve the result that they want. The washerman just wanted the darshan of the Lord. That's all he wanted. And he performed all kinds of austerities, and he prayed for that lifetime after lifetime. And then he got it. And that's what he got. That's what he prayed for. That's what he got. But he didn't understand the personal aspect of God, the emotional aspect that go behind, the intimate relationships that one can have. He didn't have any understanding of those things. It was at most part impersonal. So, therefore, he got ultimately what he asked for. But he got, ultimately, Krishna killed him, which means he got liberation. It's not what we want to do. It's not the way we want to approach God, and to achieve some type of liberation. We want to serve on a personal level. Okay, so let's continue with Vishwanath's commentary here. Sukadev, being the same emotional state as the gopis, overcome with sorrow due to remembrance of their separation from Krishna, made Pariksit recollect the previous condition. When Krishna was leaving from Mathura, the gopis having the following blessings. Today, the women of Mathura will enjoy great happiness that we should enjoy. That has come true. As the women of Mathura gazed upon Krishna's body, how could this not come true? Desiring the shelter of the beauty of those limbs to make itself more beautiful, since Krishna's limbs are the ornament of all ornaments. The goddess of all beauty of the three worlds gave up all other men who desire her. So Jiva Goswami talks about how very, very personal this is. Well, actually, Sanatana Goswami, because Jiva Goswami sometimes uses Sanatana Goswami's commentary. And so we'll just read Sanskrit. This is another exhibition of a revelation of how the gopis feel about Krishna. This is the topmost love that one can have. So Sanatana Goswami says, the people of Mathura became blissful as Krishna wandered about freely. Their good fortune is described. The auspicious words of the gopis came true for those who saw him directly at close range as he wandered freely in a cowherd dress with his dear friends. This excluded Kamsa's followers. Talking about which different groups saw Krishna. Or his form only is described to show that great bliss arises from seeing the form. The gopis said, when the Darsanas, Bhojas, Anarkatas, Vrishnis, and Sattvikas see the son of Devaki in Mathura, they will certainly enjoy the great festival for their eyes, as will those who will see him traveling on the road to the city. After all, he is the darling of the goddess of fortune and the reservoir of all quality. So Sanatana Goswami is quoting that verse. This was back in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 39, text 25. So that was like 3 chapters previous to this right here. Madhupur was named after a demon called Madhu, or because it manifested the rasa of highest bliss, Madhu, or because it was the residence of the Yadus, descendants of Madhu. It was suitable for Krishna. The reason for the truth of their statement is given. The gopis had spoken in great pain because of separation from he who gave the highest bliss. The words coming from the mouths of the great souls out of great distress immediately produce results. Here we are talking about one of the 4 people approached as one in distress here, right? It says, the words coming out of the mouths of great souls out of distress immediately produce results. Or, whenever the gopis thought of Krishna, they thought in this way. Lakshmi desired a shelter, though she served with reverence by many others. She is served with reverence by many others. But she did not obtain his direct presence. How to speak of the good fortune of the people of Mathura. So that verse here, 24, is mentioned here. Sukadeva Swami is reminding Pariksit Maharaj, who was sitting there listening to this. Remember what the gopis said, the good fortune of these residents of Mathura. So number 25, after Krishna and Balaram's feet were bathed, the two lords ate rice with milk. Then although knowing what Kamsa intended to do, they spent the night there very comfortably. Right? So they had no stress that night. They could sleep comfortably, not worried about what's going to happen to them, as opposed to Kamsa, who got no sleep, knowing what's going to happen to him, because it's been predicted. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Servants washed Krishna and Balaram's feet. They ate rice sprinkled with milk from deer cows with calves and braj, which had been placed by Mother Yasoda on the stove in the cart. They slept soundly, though knowing that the next day Kamsa wanted to kill them. They slept soundly, not hearing the words of their fearful father, Nanda. Oh, my children, what have you foolishly done today? Why did you break the bow that was worshiping and then kill the guards? I do not know what angry Kamsa will do tomorrow. Why did I bring you two brothers here? That's pretty interesting. So we get this whole idea expanded from a parental point of view. We have all these different relationships, right? We just heard the gopis, how they feel. This is their relationship. There's no fear. It's all pure loving. A parent is pure loving also, but they always have fear because they always have the welfare. They feel they have to take care of their children. So this provide protection, there's the shelter, these types of things. So this is their mood. So when Krishna, who is Nanda's son, he's thinking this way. I have to educate him. I have to protect him. I have to, this is my son. And then they found out what he did during the day. He said, oh, no, now Kamsa's really going to be mad. If he wasn't mad before, now he's really going to be upset. So this is the sweetness of what the acharyas give us in these pastimes. So let's read Jiva Goswami's. Having had their feet washed by servants, they ate rice mixed with milk, which was prepared by Yasoda for them eating in the evening. This had been kept in pots of stoves with carts. Now you can see we're repeating the same things. Vishwanath Chakravarti had access to Jiva Goswami's commentaries. So when he gave his commentary, similarly like Jiva Goswami had access to Sanatan, his uncle's commentaries. So it's arranged, recently, going back in time, the way they got it arranged here. But where Sanatana Goswami was the very first commentary, then Jiva Goswami gave a commentary, then Vishwanath, others too, but these are the most prominent. And then we have the current commentaries that we have by Hriyananda Goswami. Lots of times people, when they give class here, they say by the disciples of Prabhupada, but that's not really accurate. That's the very first books that came out had Hriyananda Goswami's name on them. But now they changed it, maybe it's politics or whatever, they put the disciples. But Hriyananda Goswami did all those commentaries. I mean, he had help, like the word for word and the Sanskrit editing. That was all done, Gopi Pranadana, they all helped with that. Just like Prabhupada had Upendra help. He did all that work, and Prabhupada, with and he did his commentary. Of course, he looked at it and corrected, but that work was done, a lot of that work was done by certain devotees. And actually, Upendra, Prabhupada wanted him to finish this Srimad Bhagavatam. But he just didn't, it was like a year went by and he actually didn't do anything. He just wasn't doing anything. So then they asked, devotees wanted all this, so they asked Hriyananda Goswami to finish it. So he had a team. And he did every chapter except for chapter 90 of the 10th canto. Gopi Pranadana did that one. Priyananda Goswami did the 11th and 12th. So it's only fair that we acknowledge him and not always say disciples, because it's actually a work by a person. It's not impersonal. It's okay. Thank you very much. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvanda Aravindan Layatakam Varpavatam Samasitam Purasundarakam Kandar Pakom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Andaniya Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Pikayanti Viramagati Ananta Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. 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 Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami.
जय जय माधव दयिते राधे जय जय माधव दयिते गोकुल तारुणी मंदल महिते गोकुल तारुणी मंदल महिते राधे जय माधवदयिते दामोदर राति वर्धनवेशे हरिनिष्कुत वृन्दा विपिनेशे दामोदर राति वर्धनवेशे हरिनिष्कुत वृन्दा विपिनेशे राधे जय जय माधवदयिते वृषभानुदादि नवशशिलेके लालिता सखी गुण रमिता विशाखे वृषभानुदादि नवशके लालिता सखी गुण रमिता विशाखे राधे जय जय माधवदयिते करुणां कुरु मयि करुणाभरिते सनक सनातन वर्णित चरिते करुणां कुरु मयि करुणाभरिते सनक सनातन वर्णित चरिते राधे जय जय माधवदयिते राधे जय जय माधवदयिते जय राधा गोलोकानंद राधा गोलोकानंद श्री राधे जय राधा गोलोकानंद राधा गोलोकानंद श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे O Radha, all glories unto you. All glories unto you, beloved of Madhava, object of worship for all the young girls of Gokula. You dress yourself in such a way as to increase Lord Damodar's love and attachment for you. You are the controller of Vrindavan, the pleasure groves of Lord Hari. You are a new moon arisen from the ocean of King Vrishabhanu. You are the friend of Lalita, and your wonderful qualities, friendliness, kindness, and faithfulness to Krishna endear you to Vishaka. You are an ocean of compassion, and your divine characteristics are described by the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanat Kumara. O Radha, please be merciful to me. Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadabagni nirvapanam Shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadujjivanam Anandambudivardhanam pratipadam purnamritaswadanam Sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Akari bahuda nija sarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kala etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivam idrishamiha janinanuragah trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहेतुकी त्वयि अयि नन्दतनुजकिङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुदो कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय नयनं गलदश्रुधारय वदनं गद्गदरुद्धया गिरा पुलकर्निचितं वपु कदा तव नामग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रवृषायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्लिष्य वा पादरतां पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनान् मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पतो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः. Victory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, the congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Thank you. Oh.